much or more time listening than talking. And I know I'll be way ahead in that category against Donald Trump. I want to make a couple of points. First, as Maxine said, I have been privileged my entire adult life to work on behalf of causes and people who sometimes get left out and left behind, to try to even the odds so that more people, particularly more children, have the chance to live up to their God-given potential. So when I went to work for the Children's Defense Fund, and Mary Wright Edelman became not only my boss but my mentor, she sent me to South Carolina to investigate why so many African-American teenagers, juveniles, were ending up in adult jails, to gather the facts so that we could sue the state of South Carolina. When I was campaigning in South Carolina in the primary this year, I actually met some of the people that worked with me, some of the civil rights lawyers, some of the people who understood that this was a terrible situation that had to be ended. She sent me to Alabama to investigate segregated academies, because when there was a real effort made to make sure that Brown v. Board of Education and all the other cases were actually followed, people were forming their own schools and trying to get tax-exempt status. And Maxine understands that because she's on the committees that asked a lot of those questions. I went undercover to Alabama to go and figure out what was happening, to take information back so that we can try to prevent those segregated academies from getting tax-exempt status. I feel very fortunate that so much of the work that I started out doing is work that informs me today, that makes me know how far we've come and how much more we have yet to do. From the first day of my campaign, way back last April, I've been speaking out about systemic racism. What that means to people competing for jobs and promotions. What that means in our schools, which I am sorry to report. Schools in America today are more segregated than they were in 1968.
Wow.
Depriving too many children of the opportunities they deserve as American children, citizens of our great country, to get the education that will put them on the path to a brighter future. So I know we've got work to do, but I also know that we've got to do it together. We've got to bring people to the table and roll up our sleeves and come up with solutions. It is not enough to diagnose the problems. We can all do that. We can fix all the problems. I'm interested in results. Now, it may be because I know how hard it is to be president. I have seen that up close. I've got no illusions. But I am very proud of our last two Democratic presidents. And I know we live in a world where information is flying around like a nanosecond, and history seems like a long way back. But let's just for a second say to ourselves, okay, when we had a Democrat in the White House in the 1990s, we had 23 million new jobs. Incomes went up for everyone, not just people at the top. And the median family income for African American families went up 33%. We were on the right track, my friend. And we were lifting people out of poverty, and it wasn't easy. Maxine remembers. I mean, honestly, when you take on those forces that want to keep people down, it ain't easy. But we kept forging ahead. Well, what happened, people might ask? Well, I'll tell you what happened. We got a Republican president and a Republican administration, and we went back to failed economic policies, only this time it was even worse. Because they didn't want to regulate the financial markets. Maxine can tell you all about that too. They didn't want to regulate the mortgage markets. So we got the worst financial crisis since the Great Depression. And I don't think Barack Obama gets the credit he deserves for digging us out of I mean, just again, it's not ancient history. It was 2008.
Yeah.
After the election, Bill and I were going for a walk in a pretty forest preserve near where we live in New York. We were so relieved that we had worked our hearts out. Bill had crisscrossed the country. I had nominated then Senator Obama. We had worked as hard as we knew, and we were so happy and relieved. So it was the Sunday after the election. We were going for a walk. And in the middle of the forest, Bill's cell phone rings. I mean, we usually don't get good cell reception anywhere. And all of a sudden, we're in the middle of the forest. So he pulls it out. And he goes, "Oh, well, President-elect, it's great to hear from you." "Well, yes, I'd love to talk to you too, but we're in the middle of the forest." "Yes, she's with me." "Okay, we'll call you as soon as we get home." So President-elect Obama talked to Bill about economic policy, personnel, some of the tough issues he was facing. I got on the phone. He said, "I want you to come see me." I said, "Okay, well, when?" He goes, "As soon as you can." So I said, "Okay." So when I got there, I didn't know he wanted me to be Secretary of State. I was really flattered and honored. But before we got to that, he says to me, "It is so much worse than they told us." And I don't want people to forget that. We've got folks running for president who want to do even worse when it comes to the economy, who have no clue about how we're going to create good jobs with rising incomes, who say, as Donald Trump has said, wages are too high in America. Well, most Americans haven't had a raise in 15 years. And we got to raise the minimum wage. And we've got to guarantee equal pay for women's work. These are important issues. So I'll give you that little context because I'm running to build on the progress that President Obama has made. I am proud of that progress. We are standing, but we need to be running. We need to have more jobs with rising incomes. We need to take on education and make it equitable so that every child in every zip code gets a good teacher in a good school. We need to finish the work of the Affordable Care Act, something that I was really proud of when it passed because, yes, before there was something called Obamacare, there was something called Hillary Care.